Hey, Jason.
What is it, Eric?
It's time for another review.
Hooray.
Ah, what's the matter, buddy? Did someone take away your... Fuck, I don't know what your interests are.
No, Eric. I'm great. I'm fantastic. I can't wait to review another anime where they just smear boobs across the screen for the entirety of the duration, and all I can do is sit there and think about the time when my boobs were that big, and furthermore...
Wait! Jason! Stop your bitching.
I promise nothing.
There's light at the end of the tunnel. We're almost there. Just one more before we get back to actual good shows. Once more into the breach, buddy. Let's go!
Charge! Oh God, the stairs!
Once upon a time in Mexico? Wow, that's a new one. Once upon a time in Mexico, there was a bounty hunter named Nadia. She was hired to find a barely legal white girl named Ellis, who was staying with the local fortune teller. But Nadia was only one of dozens of bounty hunters looking for Ellis, and they'll pull up as many sweet old ladies as it takes to get to her. It takes one. Before Ellis's surrogate grandmother dies, she gives Ellis a rock and tells her to head south until the rock tells her to stop. Having found her charge, Nadia protects Ellis as they steal a car from a couple of stereotypes and head off towards the mysterious Marca. And along the way, they would find adventure, tacos, danger, tacos, and sapphic romance.
But their journey isn't so simple. It quickly becomes apparent why Ellis is so sought after. She possesses superhuman powers and maybe use them to kill a guy. I mean, just look at her. Ellis is a witch, hence the Bruja, a synthetic witch created in a laboratory in the CIA's Project Leviathan to create a new breed of witches because they are thought to be extinct but are actually just better at hiding now. The project was headed by Douglas Rosenberg, the director of the CIA, and the man Ellis is believed to have killed, her caretaker Heinrich Schneider. Schneider was actually killed by Rosenberg because he confused him for his cousin Rob.
Rob Schneider?
With Ellis now on the run, Rosenberg commences his dastardly plan by walking around his office, saying vague things about his non-specific plan. He's pretty boring. So, let's move on.
Nadia has a few secrets of her own. She was hired to guard Ellis from all the other bounty hunters on their way to Winter Wonderland. However, due to the bond she and Ellis form, when Nadia's employer demands that she hand over Ellis at one point, she refuses in order to complete their journey. Luckily, or not, they are not alone. They are followed by L.A., the only other synthetic witch successfully created and raised besides Ellis. He's mostly around to ex machina the girls out of situations and creep on Ellis when she's asleep. And when she's awake. Just be glad she didn't have Facebook or Twitter. They are also joined by Ricardo, the badass gunslinger, and Lirio, his girl, who follows him around for no reason. In fact, they are joined so often, I don't know why the four of them just don't travel together if they're gonna keep meeting every episode.
The one wild card in this situation is a woman known by her code name, Blue Eyes, and sometimes by her real name.
Blue Eyes White Dragon. Sorry, couldn't
She is a double agent infiltrating the CIA to keep an eye on Rosenberg for a cabal of the surviving witches from which she is descended, and Nadia's employer. A while after Nadia quits, the witches task Blue Eyes with killing Nadia to test her loyalty. But after seeing the love Nadia and Ellis share, she decides to help them get to Winyai Marca. It's not that hard, Eric!
But get there finally they do. Rosenberg ditches his wife to meet Nadia and Ellis at Winyai Marca. I can't say it!
You can say it with my dick in your mouth.
But get there finally they do. Rosenberg ditches his wife to meet Nadia and Ellis at Winyai Marca to reveal his grand scheme he spent the entire series vaguely hinting at. He wanted to wake Ellis's full power as a witch, but since her powers are tied to her emotions, the easiest thing for him to do was to put a bounty on her head and make sure Nadia took the job, and the two of them would fall in love so that when he killed Nadia, Ellis would be sad enough for her full powers to happen. Haha! Ellis realizes it won't work if she's dead. Ha! So she forces the woman who loves her the most to kill her before she herself dies. They're dead, love is dead, but wait, remember how Blue Eyes is descended from the witches? Remember that part? Haha! She uses her latent power to bring Ellis back from the dead. Haha! Ellis brings Nadia back from the dead. Haha! Nadia and Ellis send Rosenberg to the dead. Hoo-ha! High School the Dead still sucks. Hoo-ha! Ellis and Nadia continue their journey because Ellis thinks Nadia has the tastiest taco in the world, amigo. Ha-ha!
Nadia fits the archetype of the fiery, red-headed, sassy action girl easily enough, but her clear experience in bounty hunting and dealing with people yields a much deeper character. One made wiser and more mature than most action-oriented characters. She retains an impulsive streak, but understands herself and others enough to know when she is in over her head and the long-term consequences of her decisions when, or at least shortly after, making them.
Like her counterpart, Ellis goes beyond the played-out airhead weird girl routine in her more human moments, as opposed to always being a hopelessly naive, too good for this world punchline machine. Ellis experiences jealousy, selfishness, and worst of all, passive aggressiveness, but not to any absurd extremes, just enough to round her out and make her more down to earth than some of the human characters we've reviewed of late. El Cazador de la Bruja is another show that tried to run the same format as Cowboy Bebop, where it tells short stories while tying it into a larger plot along the entire series. The only problem is that each episode plays more like an after-school special and are so uninteresting that it's a chore to get through. That leaves the main plot, which seems unnecessarily convoluted, for an afterthought at the end of each episode. At halfway through the series, I still had no idea what Nadia and Ellis were trying to accomplish, and at that point, I really didn't care. One good thing that I remember saying about the show was that the character models for Nadia and Ellis seemed pretty neat. However, that doesn't excuse lazy writing and boring characters. Maybe if it was a hentai. Excuse me, I need to go see a man about a unicorn.
El Cazador de la Bruja does just as many things right as it does wrong, and unfortunately, it does a lot right. The series banks a lot on its leads being likable, and it's hard to argue with the results. Nadia and Ellis are fully dimensional, engaging characters, and their developing romantic feelings for each other is handled very well. But most of the other plot-important characters they interact with have little to no depth. Conversely, its soundtrack is top-notch, and the show balances comedy and drama skillfully. But due to its limited animation, the latter isn't always as effective as it could be. El Cazador de la Bruja has just enough animation to not qualify as a slideshow and just enough content to fill a movie or a miniseries. 6 episodes, not 26. It could have also done with a better director for more creative visuals than sometimes tilting the camera, or more narrative depth than just having a narrator explain basic emotions and story moments. And lastly, for a show with a canonically lesbian couple built up and pulled off so well, to also feature 2 gay male characters as one-dimensional joke fodder comes off as horribly disingenuous. If the show played to its strengths, comedy and romance, more, it would get a higher recommendation. I mean, it's still getting one, but still though. Well, we sure have made it through some crap this season.
But we're stronger for it, right?
So tune in next time when we review Bakano. Or don't.
But these shows aren't taking a toll on us, right?
Happy holidays from all of us to all of you.
He's sleeping. convoluted plan.
It really is.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna hire this bounty hunter to protect her, and then they'll fall in love. Okay. What if they didn't? They weren't like
he's betting
lesbian.
a lot on Nadia being bisexual.
Yeah. It's like what if they weren't though? I mean, like, come on, it's 2016. We know this isn't like a choice. Like it's
Yeah, like Nadia has that ex-boyfriend in that one episode,
Yeah.
and then the only other person Alice had any love for was also male. So what were the chances that these two were both going to turn out to swing both ways?
I know this plan doesn't work because that's why Peter's on the podcast and he still hasn't fucked either of us. Come on.
And that's the only reason I brought him on!